Well, good morning, ladies. And it's so exciting. Look at all the people that are here today. I am so excited. This is our first Inspire meeting of the year, and we're trying to get it started off right. And we have a very special guest today, which is Megan Anderson with MBS Highway. And we're just excited about that. But first, I want to say just a few words about Inspire. We are getting ready. And I am Linda McCoy, one of the founders, and Laura's here also. And I will say Megan also was one of the ones in the very beginning when we were at camp, when the idea came about. And I was telling Laura and Ginger Bell, which we were all four sitting there together. And because they were on a presentation, they were doing I think they had a panel at camp, which is California's association. And I was telling them about my idea about high heels and high places, and it just happened. And all of a sudden, within 10 minutes, we had a website and everything else, because Ginger Bell is just fast. And Laura said, "Oh yeah, we can do this. That's wonderful." And that's how we began. So, and Megan was there. And so she is a very special guest today, because, we can just have her as a founding member too, because she was there. We add these special people because we love them so. And I want to say one more thing before we get started. We do have another special person that signed up today, and there's probably, I see Kim Craig on there too, and she has been at NAMB Focus last year, and we're going to be back there this week. I think Thursday and Friday. Hello there. Oh yes, I see lots of really, really special people out there. But I wanted to tell you, we have one new, I'm always telling everybody, it's for ladies. It doesn't matter how old you are, where you are in life. This is a group that helps mentor you to help you get to where you want to be. And we have a special little person that has joined us today. She's not on because she's in school. She's 11 years old, but she wanted to be a part and to grow with us and get to the top. She was on Fox News last week. She is a Girl Scout, and she is selling those Girl Scout cookies right now. And she wanted to be a part because she listens to me say, hey, it doesn't matter. Anyone that aspires to be, at the top can join our group. So we have an 11-year-old. She can watch us on YouTube and on our Facebook after hours. But anyway, we do want to help anybody that wants to get to where they want to be. Okay. And I am going to let our special Laura Brandeo, which was one of our founding members, go ahead and introduce Megan, because Megan is on a time. She's got something to do after this. So, hey.
Yes. Well, thank you, Linda, and Happy New Year, ladies. I have the honor of presenting and introducing the amazing Megan Anderson. She is a well-known professional speaker, teacher, and winner of the Housing Wire's 2020 Women of Influence Award. She's also the winner of the 2019 40 Under 40 Award and the 2022 and 2019 Women with Vision Award. She's the Vice President of Client Relations at MBS Highway, the industry's leading platform for mortgage sales professional. Megan is a highly sought after speaker and coach who is passionate about helping others grow their business and gain more confidence in themselves. Welcome, Megan.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here, and I see a lot of friendly faces on this call. Janet, you look adorable. I love the little scarf going on. And I love that we're having this call on Zoom as well, because today we're going to be talking about body language, and we're going to really get into our body language on video as well. But for starters, let's go ahead and let's dive in, because at the end of the day, our body language says a lot about us, and it can also tell us a lot about individuals, whether it's a coworker, a significant other, a family member, a friend, whatever the case may be. The more that we open our eyes to listening, the more that we're going to take away from that conversation. Now, before we dive into all of this, I want you to think back to a time period in your life when you were nervous about making a good first impression. Maybe this was, a date that you were going on, a first date. Maybe it was a job interview, whatever the case may be. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine that situation where you were really nervous. And let's say, for example, it was a job interview. And you want to make a good first impression. You go in there and you leave. Now, did you end up getting the job or not? And if you didn't get the job, why do you think that that is? And oftentimes it can be really challenging us from this point of view to think back and say, why didn't I get that job? Why didn't that day go well? But it's easier for us when we flip the script. So now I want you to flip the script and I want you to think about an instance that you observed. Maybe you were meeting your daughter's significant other for the first time, and maybe they didn't leave a good first impression. Why didn't they leave a good first impression? Maybe they didn't open the door for your daughter. Maybe they barely spoke. Or, maybe you were doing some hiring and the individual comes in for the interview and they're wearing sweatpants and they're constantly tapping their foot and checking their watch. Well, obviously that body language is leading you to believe this person's really not that serious about this job. They don't really want this job, and you end up not hiring them. It's a lot easier for us to think about this when we flip the script. And it's important to note that before we even speak, before words come out of our mouth, we truly, really are already speaking. And oftentimes this becomes kind of a subconscious thing that we don't think about. But the reason that nonverbals matter so much is because it's going to allow us to create influence, whether we're doing videos for social media or coming on and doing a Zoom call or stepping on stage. By being able to read body language and control our own body language, it's going to allow us to create maximum influence. Not only that, but it's going to allow us to build and nurture relationships. Maybe you're talking to a team member and they seem a little bit down. Well, when you address that with empathy, because you see that through their body language, now you can grow closer together and move forward onto whatever the next step is. Also, it's going to help you feel understood, and it's also going to help your teammates feel understood, which anyone managing a team here or being a part of a team, it's really going to make everyone feel heard and thus create a stronger team. Now, my first awareness of nonverbal communication, the first time that I was really kind of aware of it on a conscious level was growing up. I did ballet, and I remember the first year I was in the Nutcracker. We put on the Nutcracker every winter season, and you have to tell a story through dance, and you're not saying anything. You're just moving your body and your facial expressions to tell a story. And this was the first time that I had an awareness that, oh, we say a lot without even saying anything at all. Now, Albert Moravian, he was a researcher, and through his research, he discovered that only 7% of meaning is derived from spoken word. 38% is through tone of voice, while 55% is through body language. And looking at this, you can see how imperative it is that we understand what our body language is saying or what we want it to say, and what our tone of voice is. That matters before putting our speech together and coming out and giving that speech. So let's go ahead and let's first start off by mastering body language. That's the 55% of meaning. We're going to go over some friend and foe signals. So a friend signal that we often see is frequent smiles. This is a really good sign that you have a close relationship with someone. The head tilt, this can also be a sign of endearment, listening in, we tend to tilt our head. And then mutual touching. Now, I'm not in here to, we don't want HR called on us here, but generally speaking, the closer that you are to someone, the more likely you are to, give them a light tap on the shoulder, give them a hug, shaking of the hands. Mutual touching is a friend signal. Now, what about faux signals? Well, first off, we have the eye roll. Now, if you're giving a presentation, you're starting to see a lot of eye rolls go along. That's an important signal that the audience may not be agreeing with what you're saying, or, they might just not be listening. And then there's the aggressive stance. Now, if you saw your boss like this, and you were about to go in and ask for a raise, you might want to wait and hold back and come at a different time, where they don't seem so aggressive and put off to the situation. And then there's the furrowed brow. That usually can signal, maybe I don't understand, or, look at that person, don't really like that individual. So these are some faux signals. And this is from a book that breaks down the different friend and foe signals. And go ahead and give these an overview. And we'll go over some of them. But when I was reading this book, the most one that really stood out to me was eyebrow flash. I was reading the book and I was like, no, there is no way that when I see someone, I'm doing an eyebrow flash. Like, I'm not walking around like this saying hello to people. But then I was at an event, and I encourage you to do this when you step into the office, when you go see your family or your friends later this evening. Really pay attention, because it's a very quick thing, but we tend to be like, hey, hey, nice to see you. Hey, it's a quick second thing, but this is a signal that is a friend signal that you're going to give off and that you naturally just give off. So be on the lookout for these eyebrow flashes next time you're trying to go out and land some referral partnerships. And when we understand body language, it can cue us up to take advantage of certain situations. Or again, maybe it's our boss, we want to go in and we want to ask for a raise. Well, if I'm going into my boss's office, and this happens to be my boss here, Barry Habib, thank God he was willing to help me with these photos. But if you saw us talking like this, would you just walk up and start talking about the latest football game or go ahead and ask for your raise? No, you probably wouldn't. Why? Because we're giving off signals that, faux signals to you. In other words, we don't want you to kind of come in. For starters, our body language is closed off. Our feet are turned into each other. And we're giving off closed body language. So this would not be the appropriate time to go up and ask for a raise or go up and start talking about the latest football game. But in this situation, we are giving off a lot more friend signals. We have a casual kind of stance. Our feet are pointing outwards. It's an open body posture. We're smiling. This is where the mutual touching is coming in. And these are all really important. So many of us go to these different events. For example, I'm about to step on stage and speak right after I get off of here. And then afterwards, it's going to be coffee or networking. It's going to be a networking event, essentially, at the end of the day. And, oftentimes when we go to these networking events, one, as a woman, it can be a little bit challenging to just, hey, I want to say hello, make sure I say hello to these people. It can make us feel uncomfortable, but when we understand body language, this can help us out a lot more. If I see two individuals, again, closed body language, talking to each other, maybe that's not the best time to go up and say hi. But if everyone's sitting down at the couch or, they're standing in an open body language frame, well, that's going to be an appropriate time to go up and say hello. They're going to be more willing to be open to that conversation. Now, I really love playing this because it highlights how body language and what you're saying, it has so much power. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this for you. Let me make sure that I am sharing with sound first off. All right, so here we go.
Call you back. Is this my car?
State
Can you
Farm
guys
knows
hear
that for
this?
every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
Ah!
That's why State Farm is there.
What a day.
With car insurance for when things go wrong,
What a day!
but also here with car loans to help life go right.
So isn't that crazy that, and you guys could hear that okay, right? Okay.
Yes.
I love showing that because they're saying exactly the same thing, right? But the message is completely different based off of their body language and their tone of voice. And it's a really great example to show that, it's not what comes out of our mouths. It's our body language and our tone of voice that really creates the impact and the overall message. Oops, we don't want to play that again.
SkinCeuticals vitamin C serums
Sorry,
are proven
guys.
to reduce visible signs.
Okay. Okay. So now let's move on to spoken word. That's the 7% of meaning, according to Albert. And if you guys have listened to Rene Rodriguez, he teaches this and he really helped me with this as well. I've learned a lot from him. But he talks about, it's all how we position our speech. For example, if I was going to do a video on social media and I first come out and I say, I'm a loan officer, I'm a real estate agent. Well, depending on who we're talking to, imagine that I'm a potential client and the last memory that I have of anything housing related was my parents purchasing a home during the time of the housing crash. And I remember how much pain and sorrow and heartbreak and devastation that was for our family. Well, if you just come out and first thing that you say is, I'm a real estate agent, that's the memory that they're associating with that word. So instead, if the purpose of our message is to, let them know that we are here to help, first time home buyers get into the home of their dreams and reach financial freedom, if that's our goal, then let's not frame it by saying, I'm a real estate agent or I'm a loan officer. Instead, you want to start by framing your message, and you could literally use anything you want. For example, I have a water bottle right here, so I'm going to use this as my frame, okay? And I might say something like, this water bottle right here, it really reminds me of, the time that I was growing up and my parents were purchasing their first home. It was our first family home. They had saved up so much money, and we walk into the originator's office and he hands us waters. And I remember sitting there feeling so proud of my parents that they were ultimately going to be able to purchase this home for our family. And then I remember just the devastation afterwards when it led to the housing crash. And, at the end of the day, though, when I see this water bottle, it just reminds me of the hope and the hardship that they went through. But, thank God that we had that originator on our side helping us navigate that market. And that's why I originate loans, is because I want to help people feel comfortable and confident in navigating the home buying journey and ultimately reach financial freedom. You can use anything as your frame. So you want to go from the frame to the message to the tie down. And the tie down, you'll notice, we're not starting with I'm a real estate agent or I'm a loan officer. We're starting it with the frame. We go into the message, and then the tie down is ultimately that's why I'm an originator, or that's why I'm a real estate agent. And it's really important that we think about this, especially when we're doing our social media videos or we're entering a meeting or whatever the case may be. Listen, there's a lot of negativity in the market right now. There's a lot of people hurting right now. And a lot of you on this call, I'm sure, manage teams. And if you're going into a meeting where, maybe you end up having to do some massive cuts in the company or whatever the case may be, let's think about the way that we're going to frame that, the message that we're going to have, and the tie down when we're delivering this bad news, because it's really going to help soften the blow. And it's also going to just help us create greater influence, greater impact, and help the team overall feel heard. Now let's go into tone of voice, because this is the other large portion of meaning. And I gave this speech at MBA New Jersey event with Laura not too long ago, and we break down the tone of voice. And this is really important because, especially as women, I tend to find that it's a little bit more challenging for us as women to, let's say something really, really bad happened. Well, it's a little bit more challenging, I feel like, for women to ultimately drop that feeling and move into the next part of whatever our day is. And it happens almost on a subconscious level, but we have to be aware of it, because if I'm walking into a meeting with my team or I'm walking into a meeting with my boss, knowing that tone of voice and being able to control that tone of voice for the message that we want to get across is really important. And so I break it down into different elements. And we have first the earth element. This is very grounded. It's heavy, it's slow, it comes from the core of your stomach. And this is a really great voice to use when you're commanding respect. So when you're in a meeting, the earth voice is a really great one to use. Then we have the fire voice. This brings energy. Think of Martin Luther King, I have a dream speech. That was fire. This is a good one to use when you're on stage or when you're trying to fire up your team. Then we have the water voice. This is welcoming, it's caring. This is a good tone of voice to use when you're expressing empathy. And then we have the metal voice. Hopefully we don't have to use this one too much, but it's bright, it's sharp, it cuts through anything. I want you to think of, a baby crying or your boss all of a sudden yelling at you. This is going to be a metal voice. And then we have air voice. This is light, it brightens up a room, and this is a really good voice to use when you want to pitch a new idea to your boss, and you really want to get that idea across. It's going to come through as being super passionate and light and airy. And so I want you to think about these things, and I want you to think specifically, what is the last conversation that you had where you didn't feel heard? And what tone of voice were you using? You know, maybe you just ultimately had to put out a fire on a file, and then you had to walk into a team meeting. Well, did you bring that tone of voice over to the meeting? Because that's going to affect your influence. That's going to affect, you know, how your team is going to take that overall meeting and that message. So putting this all together, we need to think about what our body language is. We need to think about our tone of voice. And so here we are in this Zoom call, and I want to bring this up, and I want everyone, if you are able and willing and brave enough, I want you to go ahead and turn on your camera. Okay. Yes, I love it. Okay. All right. So if we are in a Zoom meeting, which many of us are in Zoom calls, also think about this as social media. You are doing a video for social media, right? We have this box of influence. This is what we have to work with. So if I was sitting here on this call the whole time and I was just, you know, yeah, tone of voice, you know, it really matters a lot to, you know, your message, and it's really important. It's so important. You got to focus on it, guys. If I was talking to you like that, you'd be like, who is this person? Not only that, but did you notice that I wasn't giving you eye contact? Eye contact is so engaging. Eye contact is what helps breed trust. And at the end of the day, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So when you're doing social media videos, when you're in these Zoom calls and you're trying to manage a team, one, it's really important that you set your camera on. And I encourage you to have your team members set their video on as well. Listen, it's so easy for us not to. And honestly, it's kind of nice. You know, you tap out, you get your lunch, you're eating, you're enjoying it, you're checking emails on the side, you're scrolling through Instagram, but that's not engaging. Listen, I know we're in this virtual world, but the more that we take the practices that really lead to engagement when we're person to person and bring those to this virtual realm, that's when we're going to create influence. And if your team meetings aren't going that great, have everyone turn on their camera and make sure that, you know, you're looking at the camera anytime that you want to make a point to your team. Another thing, remember, we have this box, right? And normally if I'm standing up and I'm giving a presentation in person, it's really easy and natural for me to use my hands. Now on video on here, it's a little bit weird because, right, it's like, it's a little elevated. You kind of feel like you're in that, like, what do I do with my hands skit of the movie, right? But it's okay. I know that it doesn't feel normal, but use your hands. For example, if I wanted to make a point, I might go, you need to listen to this. Point, get excited, talk with your hands. That's going to create a lot more influence and make it more dynamic when we're all stuck on these Zoom virtual calls. Same thing with your social media videos. You don't want to be sitting here slouched over like this the whole time. You want to sit up. You want confidence. You want to exude that confidence. And the other thing is, again, pay attention to your tone of voice. Listen, meetings aren't that fun, and creating social content can be really scary, but when we accentuate different words, when we change up, listen, I need you to listen to this right now. When we change up that tone of voice, it creates more engagement and it drives people in. So I want you all to think about that as you go into your next call, as you talk to your team, as you talk to your significant other. And another thing, I'm just going to pick on some people right now. You know, we got Gail over here. Gail's listening and she's into it, you know, but she has her hand like this. She's listening, but she's relaxed, right? Another thing, a lot of you have glasses. Totally fine. Listen, I used to be basically legally blind before I got LASIK, thank God. But back in those days, I couldn't even take my glasses off. All I could see was color blurs. But here's the thing, when we're on video specifically, again, Gail, I'm going to pick on you, and Stacy. When we're looking at your glasses, there's a glare. Okay. And to the viewer, whether it's social media video they're watching or your teams that are on here, we can't see your eyes. And again, it's eyes that breed trust. And so even if it's just for a second on the start of the meeting, on the start of the video for social media, take your glasses off and look directly in the camera so that people get that eye contact. Another thing that you can do is, you can set up the light to where you're not going to get that glare. And if you are doing a bunch of videos, you can get anti-glare glasses, but that's just something to keep in mind because we're not always aware of it because you're just trying to see, and that's okay. Another thing, I'm going to pick on Chris over here. Now, Chris, your video is a little bit dark, which, when we don't see you and we don't hear you, might come off a little bit cold. And especially if you were going to come out and give some big news or, really try and influence team members, I might recommend that you turn around because there is a window behind you. And, oftentimes here I am in this room where I can't control my light. And thank God, I got to say, thank God it's a good lighting day in here because we don't always get lucky, right? But there's a window, but the window is in front of me. So that's causing it to illuminate my face so that, you can see me and you can see my facial structures as I communicate. Now, I'm also going to pick on Sarah a little bit here. Sarah, we can't see your whole head. If you're going to be on a Zoom call or do a video for social media, definitely recommend that you bring that down and so that people can see your whole head. One thing that I do all the time, and it's because I get really excited, and when I get excited, I lean into the camera, is I will cut off my forehead. Not to mention, I got to tell you guys, when I first started doing video, I intentionally cut off my forehead because I was like, you guys, I have like a 5 head going on, I was all self-conscious about this. But then my boss, Barry, was like, listen, it just looks weird when you cut off your head. That's all you can focus on is why is she cutting off the top 2 inches of her head? So listen, get comfortable with the way you look. Be proud of it, ladies. Be proud of it and get out there. And again, if you're going into a tough conversation, practice it. I want you to think about, okay, what is my purpose of this call? What is my purpose of this video? What is my purpose with this meeting? And then what I want you to do is I want you to practice. If you have something really important to say, practice your tone of voice. Practice your body language. I do this all the time on stage. For example, if I'm bringing up, this or that, I'm going to move my body. I'm going to step to this side and say this, or I'm going to step to the other side and say that. And that creates more dynamic and more influence and draws people into the speech. If you're on video, it might be, this or that. Don't be afraid to use your hands. And ladies, you got this. And we all look so fabulous right now. I want to appreciate everyone for turning on their camera right now and being brave and showing up.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that, Megan. You did a great job. And I love that because, hey, we all know that, we need improvement, especially on Zoom. I'm sitting there looking at mine and I'm looking a little dark and I have a ring light up there, but I didn't turn it up. So, hey, now and I'll turn it all the way up so I can see, so y'all can see me better. But anyway, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here and we know you have to run. And I did want to let the girls know that we are going to have an in-person meeting in Margaritaville Resort in Orlando on Friday morning. We're going to have a breakfast and we can network together if you can be there. And I see a few people that I know that will be there. And it's very exciting. And next month, I have asked Valerie Saunders to be our speaker and she has agreed. And, Valerie is our president-elect at NAMB and she has come, up through the ranks. And, that's what we all want to aspire to be, to get to the top. And she's, she's been to the top on a lot of things, but now she's going to be at the top of NAMB too. So, and hey, if anybody that's going to be there next week or this week, please let me know because I'm going to ask a few of you to tell your story of what Inspire has done for you. So I think that it's going to be great. And Laura, you got any words to?
No, just listen, Megan, great job. That was an amazing job that she did. So
yes,
it's awareness, right, ladies? I mean, so many things that it just brings awareness. And just remember, I mean, as Megan said, every one of you are beautiful, inside and outwards. never be afraid to shine your light, because you have it inside of you and everybody wants to see it. So thank you all for joining us. I really, my heart is going to be in Orlando at Margaritaville. I'm sorry that I'm going to miss it, but I have family coming in during that time, so I'm unable to make it, but great things. And Linda, I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you so much. And Brandy, get this video out because I think it's so special. And I just love that. Of course, Laura's already, she knows she's in front of the camera all the time, but the rest of us, we need to get in front of the camera more. And hey, a great meeting. And y'all, I put my contact information in the chat box. Call me, email me, whatever you want to do. And let's help get you all to the top. That's a mentoring group, and that's what it's all about. Thank you so much. See you next month.